Vintage 1960s Sony micro TVs. These are little portable black and white TVs. They're very popular. They're still quite abundant. They're very well built. They have a couple major flaws that they all have, which are, number one, electrolytic capacitors, and it's not even an option with these. If you're going to use it, you have to recap it. And also the little trim pots on the side. These are two different styles. This one has a battery pack in the back. I believe it takes a bunch of C cells that make up 12 volts. This one has AC and 12 volts in. This is a model 5-307UW. It has antenna inputs on the side here, so you can actually feed a signal into this and use it with a converter box if you were so inclined to watch TV on something so small. It's made out of metal. These here are the trim pots that go bad. A lot of times if you don't get vertical or horizontal deflection, if you can't get enough deflection after you recap it, these trim pots are bad. This one's in pretty bad shape. It's kind of beat up. It almost looks like it was dropped. The earphone jack is missing. The UHF is missing. So one has a really small speaker. Antenna input right there on the top. Sony micro TV. Someone soldered, looks like they soldered wires onto this one, or whatever they came up with here. Spade connectors. This is a model 4-204UW. 6.2 watt battery pack, or DC 12 volts, 3.9 watts. This one has a power transformer inside. You can see it right there. And I've worked on a lot of these over the years. And the main thing that will stop it from working is this deflection board right on top. All the little electrolytics need to be changed. I've never seen a bad transistor in one of these. The IF and audio is on the bottom. And I think technically these are hybrid sets because they use 3 little micro rectifier tubes. For the high voltage rectifier is a tripler. So technically they are hybrid. They're all transistor except high voltage rectifier tripler setup. So I think what we want to do, we'll save this one for a separate video, unless this one's totally helpless. Let's fix this one. If it's not broken, let's fix it. Wow, this thing feels like it's actually still got cells in it. Do not remove the cover. Inside battery is not replaceable. I would wager that that's fake. Little CRT. These are full TVs. They have everything in them that a regular black and white would have. Oh, has a very specific odor. Lots of caustic crust. Yeah, you can actually see the caustic crust right there. old nickel cadmium cells. What is this? Potassium hydroxide leaking out of here. A little bit corroded on my vintage battery chemistry. They don't use these anymore. They use lithium ion or lithium iron phosphate for higher current stuff. Looks like we got tin cells. Is that what's here? 9, so 1.2 times 9. So here's the inside, and like I said, these crappy Elna capacitors. Has someone been tweaking on the cores there? That's not a good thing. These gray Japanese capacitors. Look at the old Sony germanium transistor. These things were really, really good quality. And I bet they were very expensive too. So here's our UHF tuner, here's our VHF tuner. Picture bulb. Ooh, we got a circuit board here. Oh, that's nice. Aluminum foil on the fuse. Someone wrapped that fuse in foil. Here's our pots again that go bad. One screw and this just hinges out. Look at all those crappy electrolytic capacitors. I bet every one of those is dried out. Man, they got that board packed. Yeah, it's quite a 2SC41. I believe that's probably your horizontal output. Oh great, what's this here? Is this the earphone? Those capacitors down there usually have to be changed also. 4-204UW. About to just download the SAMs on this thing. 4-204UW. Make it easy here. Okay, I guess I've used up my allotment of these for the month, so I'll have to go try and dig it out of the garage. Hopefully I have it. 808-4. C4A for voltage regulator 12 volt and voltage booster 6 volt. Interesting. So I guess maybe in 1966 there were still enough 6 volt cars that people wanted to watch their porn on this thing with their 6 volt car, so they had a booster available. Here you go, look at the complexity of this thing. And yeah, I said high voltage rectifiers. Look at this. It's got 1, 2, 3, it's got 5 tubes in it. Quintupler circuit. Wow, they must have really wanted to keep the high voltage pulses down on this horizontal output tube. There's a picture bulb right there. 73114. Yeah, it's a full 3IF, third sound IF, push-pull audio output. These things were no joke. And loaded with electrolytic capacitors. Fully voltage regulated power supply. So what I was after here is I want to identify in that connector what's plus and what's minus, and it looks like that fuse is positive. Wow, here's the 6 volt auto supply unit. So it's a little chopper circuit that pumps the 6 volts up to 12 volts. Very cool. So these are the pots that go bad. Focus, vertical height, vertical linearity, horizontal frequency, vertical bias, and it shows you where all the wires plug on. Very comprehensive. This is Class A stuff all the way. Just notice the picture bulb is floating in this thing. You know, this is not a very good candidate to restore, and I'll be honest, I'm not in the mood to completely recap this thing right now the way it needs to be. I mean, this is really a multi-day project of doing microsurgery to replace all these crappy ELNA capacitors. And you know, you want to sit down with the SAMs and pre-order all your capacitors off DigiKey. You want to get legitimate non-counterfeit Nichicon or Panasonic caps if you're going to redo one of these. You don't want to go with any third-rate crap that could be possibly counterfeit. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of labor of love to recap this. Or that one over there. And that one over there is actually a better candidate because it's in good physical cosmetic shape. Okay, let's see what happens here. According to the SAMs, I got this hooked up right. This is 13 volt lithium iron phosphate. This will basically deliver enough current to EOL just about anything. Dead. Completely dead. Well, let's see. It's possible the audio's broken with that earphone connector the way it is, but yeah, it seems dead. Well, we got 13 volts here. If I measure back here on here, we got 13 volts, but I don't have any voltage. This is the regulator board, and I have no voltage anywhere on this board. So we need to start the troubleshooting procedure to isolate the loss of sanity. I definitely, yeah, this is the voltage regulator filter board up top. So the power comes in here through the 1 amp fuse with aluminum foil on it, through the volume control to this power plug socket, and then into the regulator board. Wonder if the volume control is not, power switch is no good. It's the next thing to check. Okay, well, yeah, it's working. It's actually just a crappy, like is in a cheap AM radio, one of those little switches with the click switch on the back, but you can see it's working. Okay, it doesn't even look like the yoke is tight on the bulb. So someone else had been in here working on this. So I believe this is probably that power plug, because I see that orange wire going in here. Okay, so we got the power here, here, and then it's not from this point, it's going up to the board, the regulator board on top. Okay, I have some Crackle Pony Master Charge now. And it must have just been that plug wasn't making good contact, because I have voltages up on top. Oh yeah, there's a little activity. Okay, I want to check our voltage sources, our power supply voltages. CRT is not lighting up, so I was looking at, it doesn't have a separate cathode. The filament is the cathode. Kind of like old 1-volt tubes. So it actually gets its filament voltage off the horizontal output. So if the horizontal output's not working, like if we got a bad capacitor back here and the horizontal's not working, you're not going to illuminate the filament. So I want to check, this is on that board on top, I want to check the 9.2 volt source, and I also want to check the 10 volt source. I want to look at that and that. And this is a trip. Now I don't have any voltage up here at all, and I lost the static from the speaker. So what's going on here? I checked that plug again on the bottom. I believe I found the problem. It's that orange wire that comes up to the power supply board. It's not soldered. Nice. Okay, now with the power wire actually soldered to the board, now on the 9.2 volt source we have 10.66, which is high. The battery's about a volt higher than 12 volts, but you know, a car running is about 13.8 to 14.7, something like that. So we want to figure out why if we do this, we hear noise from the speaker because the audio amp is up here. So we have nothing. Dead. Okay, do we have any voltage on the collector of the horizontal output? Yes, we do. 11.79. Taking a look at the horizontal pulse on the base of the horizontal output transistor, we have 6.53 volts at 9 kilohertz. That's way too low. It needs to be up around 15. Okay, a little tweak of this right here, which is the horizontal frequency, and adjusting the horizontal hold, I got it up to 15.1, which is decent, I guess. Still dark. Okay, according to this, on the base, I should have... Okay, according to this, on the base, I should have 6.5 volts. On the collector, I should have 100 volts. So I have 6.6 volts on the base. I have nothing on the collector. So is this transistor dead? Horizontal output transistor bad? Wait, the frickin' screws are missing out of the horizontal output transistor. The screws are missing out of the horizontal output transistor. It's not making contact. Well, I'm measuring it with the diode check, and it's not shorted. I can't easily check it fully without pulling it out because it's got a transformer between the collector and base, I mean the emitter and base. These two pins right here have a transformer across them, so I can't really check it in circuit very effectively. See what I mean there? There's basically a 1.3 ohm resistor between emitter and base. But emitter to collector is not shorted. And usually when a transistor like this fails, emitter to collector will short. So do I just get a little screw and nut and see what happens? I guess so. I mean, so at this point, who knows what to expect could be wrong or missing or disconnected on this. Okay, well, here we go. Our current limiting is this Chinese wire. Oh! Okay, so we'll just keep that at a very, 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 very minimum. We don't want to crematate the CRT, which looks very strong because that was bright. Okay, so what do we got here? Vertical. So the dead vertical is probably caused by bad capacitors. Okay, so there's a lot of capacitors in here that would shut this down. That 50, that 20, that 5, just about any of them. So I'm pulling this board out. We're going to check the capacitors. Okay, this electrolytic is dead open. Nothing. Totally open. This one is not. Hard to do this one-handed. High ESR, but not open. Okay, I replaced these two capacitors, and I went through and checked the rest of them. I only had one open one in the vertical circuit. The rest of them are low ESR, but they're okay. Ooh, still no dice. Not happy. Although it is doing something there, if you could see it vibrating, if I adjust the vertical frequency, see it vibrating? Huh. So this is height and linearity. Height makes a difference. Linearity does not. So let's check that pot. Yeah, I'm doing some voltage measurements here on the transistor pins using this to try and find them. And it's supposed to have 7 volts here. I have nothing, and I have nothing here on the emitter. I need to find this 0.48. It looks like I have 9 volts here and minus 0.1 here, so I got to find this resistor. These pots had been turned, so it's possible one of these transistors is shorted, or turning this blew the resistor out. And there's that resistor right there, and it's burned up. Baked. So do we have a shorted transistor? Here's that transistor that burnt resistor feeds. Dead short. So for this resistor to be burned out and this to be shorted, this almost has to be shorted too, because the only return path is up through here and back down to ground. And I would think that 13 would get cremated. This is very interesting. So for this to be burned up and this to be shorted, the only return path looks like back through here, unless it's went through there. So any of this DC coupled stuff has to come out and be checked. So these two have to come out and be checked. And probably that resistor and that resistor. So let me pull these two out. This is becoming a time vampire. Okay, this one seems to check okay. NPN germanium, it looks like. Look at this one. The beta is 2 on it. Really? This is the same transistor. It's the same, what is it, 2SD65, and the beta on this one is 45. I almost think this one's dead. If I measure this one emitter to collector, I get 1.9 volts, which is about what I would expect to get on a germanium. If I measure the exact same pins configuration on this one, I get 0.148 volts. So this one is damaged. At the beginning of this video, I said that these were notorious for bad capacitors, electrolytics, and these pots going bad, and that the transistors rarely ever go bad or never go bad. I've never seen these transistors go bad in one of these sets before. And I'm kind of eating my words now, although this is kind of a weird case where someone had been working on it and solder joints were undone and bolts were missing. At this point, smart money would walk away from this. Smart money would go buy another one on eBay and use this as a parts set. Now, I don't know if I'm smart money. I need to stop and think about it. But this is definitely the point where you walk away, because also we're not getting any activity from the tuner or IF. I mean, there's a little, but there's no sign of life like static or picking up channel 6, or there's just no front end activity. And I don't know if someone had been in here and tightened all these screws down thinking they were going to fix it or what, but they definitely turned those bias pots, because you can see where you can see Sony had them marked with paint and they were cranked all the way up. I put them back where they looked like Sony had marked them with white paint. This is an NPN, Russian germanium NPN. MP37B. Okay, here's what we got. We got a 10 ohm resistor right here, which is the replacement for this one. Replacement for this transistor, which was this black one that was shorted. We have a Russian, is this a GT403? And then for this transistor here, which was damaged, we're using the MP37. Now, I don't know if I got these in right. I used this to identify the leads. It's kind of become a little bit of a time vampire. Should have gone in the trash already, but let's fire it up and see what happens. Maybe we'll be living in the age of smoke here really quick. Well, that's a little bit better than smoke. We have some deflection there. We have some horizontal torquification. Let's see if I can fill that out. I know the camera's blanking it, but it's not filling the bottom of the screen. But it looks nice other than that. Oh yeah. Ooh. Interesting. Why is the deflection only on... It's like the yoke is bad. Okay. By adjusting the centering magnets and the height and linearity, I got it decent, but there's still no activity from the tuner. Dead. So injecting 5 volts directly into the IF on 45.75, this is what I get. Barely anything and no sync. I'm wondering if that capacitor's open right there. Wonder where point A is. I need to offer a correction here, which is that this has a 25 megahertz IF and not a 47 megahertz IF like a later set. I'm surprised that a set that's not from 1966 is still using a 25 megahertz IF, but I'm sure Sony has a reason. Coming back to this kind of after the end, you know, just being obsessed with it and not being able to walk away and not know what's wrong with it. I noticed that, okay, a little background. So the purple wire here, which the lighting is pretty bad, but the purple wire right here is the video out. That purple wire is right here. So that's like, this would be composite video, and then this is basically an emitter follower for the composite video into the video amp. And this, the sound takeoff is off the collector through this transformer. So, and I'm trying to address the IF not working. And after I noticed that the IF was 25 megahertz, not 47, I got out the B&K 1077, which will do the 25 megahertz IF, and I still wasn't getting anything through it. But I noticed that when I injected composite video into the purple wire on this side with this unplugged, that it worked. I was able to get the picture, which you'll see at the end of the video. When I plug this in, it completely grounds it out. So I started doing some checking here, and the purple wire, which is connected, comes through the board. It comes through the board right there. The purple wire is shorted to ground. And I started looking at this, and we need to get into this and diagnose it, because I need to know what's going on here. But the purple wire, which is this one right here, shorted to ground. And the only place I can see that it would probably could be shorted to ground would be in this transistor. This transistor has 4 pins, and the case is grounded. The can of the transistor, which is this transistor right here, has 4 pins. One of them is grounded. Unless one of these coils is shorted, or one of the capacitors is shorted, or there's a trace or something on the board. But somehow this composite video line is shorted to ground, and this should measure 1.9 volts. It's measuring 0 because this line is shorted to ground. So where is it shorted to ground? It has to be in the transistor or on the board. And that would explain why we're still getting some audio through, because the audio takeoff is off the collector. So we need to address this circuit right here, and I bet the thing will wake right up. This is measuring from that video, composite video purple wire to ground, and I'm getting 0.5 ohm. Another correction. I mentioned previously that I thought this could be shorted from the emitter to ground, because that would be the path of the short up through here, because this is the video and it's shorted to ground. But after looking at this, this coil goes to ground. So if it was shorted emitter to collector, it would short right through here, which I bet it is. It's more likely for a Japanese transistor to be shorted from emitter to collector than from emitter to case. I don't think I've ever seen a Japanese transistor with the whisker issue. and this is a 2SA60. And it's weird how they have Sony like painted on the top of these. I don't think they're Sony transistors. I think they're made by someone else. We'll get it out and have a look. I lifted the wire off, and I noticed there's some kind of, oh, it's almost like syrup. Probably not going to see it in the camera, but it's wet, sticky. It's not flux. Well, maybe I'll get a acid brush and some alcohol and try and clean this off before I go any further. And yes, this transistor is just shorted. I don't think this is a Sony transistor though. Come on, focus on that, you turd burglar. This is a GT313 Russian germanium. These are fairly high speed. So I'm going to just tack this on the back and we'll see if this set works. If the front end actually works now. This could have more bad transistors in it. I've really kind of eaten my words on Sony and bad transistors in this video. Let me say this just to clarify and make absolutely sure it's understood that this is not the way you would fix this thing if you plan on keeping it and using it. Sticking these Russian germaniums in there, these are great transistors, but unless you do a lot of research and make sure you're getting the best one in there for the circuit design as a replacement, you know, is not acceptable. This is like a 400 megahertz transistor, so it should perform well enough. I think this is a 100 megahertz transistor, but yeah, this is just simply for the entertainment of the video to make the TV work again. It's like the vertical circuit doesn't quite work right because we don't have the right transistors in it. I mean, Sony made a lot of their own transistors, and it's going to be hard to find exact replacements for these unless you get a parts set. So we're just kind of trying to make it work here, but just because these work doesn't mean they work as the set was designed. And maybe I should say the set will not work as it was designed. And you can see we got this weird kind of gradient and some motor boating thing, and kind of weird. There is activity from the tuner. Let's try feeding the 25 megahertz into it from the BNK 1077. Okay, I need to find a screw and ground this. This was originally not grounded. The screw is missing. Let me put this back together half-ass. Well, it's still got problems, and that's, you know, at least that transistor woke up the front end. So you'll get to see it work here at the end of the video with it on composite. But this thing is just plagued with problems. Bad transistors, open capacitors, missing parts. Someone had been in here and really tortured this thing. I pulled all my parts out of it and put it back together. Here are the bad parts that were in it. And maybe this is a lesson that if you come across something with the fuse wrapped with aluminum foil, you stay clear of it, because into the parts bin it goes.
Hotels. We would like to inform you that your confirmation number was drawn and you are entitled to receive a complimentary stay. To accept, press 1 now. If you don't wish to receive any additional offers, press 2 now. You are currently caller number 225, waiting to speak with a representative. The estimated hold time is currently 5 minutes.
So this is the new joke so you don't troll them.
Currently caller number 206, waiting to speak with a representative.
Oh, it went up.
The estimated hold time is currently 5 minutes. Thank you for your patience.
So
Currently caller number 189. Thank you for your patience.
let's see, who are they spoofing here?
You are
Who is
currently
this?
caller number 155.
So
Waiting to speak with a representative. The estimated
as you can see here, you can kind of see
Thank you for your patience.
window circle, and yeah, it is rolling,
Currently caller
and I can't get the vertical frequency
waiting to speak with a representative.
I can't get the vertical frequency up fast enough,
Thank you for your patience.
and there's just no sync. I think this is about the time where you give up on it, though.
You are currently caller number 108, waiting to speak with a representative. The estimated hold. You are currently caller number 5, waiting to speak with a representative. Thank you for your patience.
Hi, this is Mike. I have the pleasure of speaking with.
Hello? Do you hear me?
Hello. Yes, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
This is Sony.
Hello, Sunny. My name is Lily. How are you today?
Good.
Okay, great. So to check availability, I am going to confirm your area code. Is your area code?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So I'm showing that we do have a couple of vacation packages left in your area. Please understand these are limited time offers and this is a promotion for today, okay?
Okay.
So today you have been invited to enjoy some of the most visited vacation destinations in the world, such as Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Orlando, Florida, Puerto Vallarta, Cabo San Lucas, Thailand. We also have Vietnam, Canada, and the Grand Cayman Islands.
Ooh,
The idea behind
Vietnam.
today's promotion is to obtain you a fabulous vacation and treat you like royalty for a week. All we ask in return is that you take an amenity tour of our resort and experience what we have to offer. Does that make sense?
Yes. Do you have the COVID-19 Carnival Cruise?
The what?
The COVID-19 Carnival Cruise.
I don't know. We have many cruises. We have over 40 different destinations and cruises lines to choose from. We do have Carnival and on the cruise list. You can choose some.
Okay. The COVID-19 Catastrophic Cruise. Do you copy? Holy crap, I finally got it to lock in by feeding composite video directly into this board. But it's very unstable.
doctor who can be your quarterback.
Okay, I got it working
Your doctor can signal when
on composite video,
and vaccines based on
and I'm using this one back here for audio. So we'll take a look at the debates tonight.
Circle of Health is
They're on
sponsored by
CBS
UCLA
tonight.
Health, now with primary care doctors and specialists throughout Southern California.
I mean, it's a decent picture, but it's just too damn small.
See you around the neighborhood.
Plus, can Michael Bloomberg rebound after his last performance?
Bloomstein.
We're with the candidates ahead of tonight's face-off. The other breaking news tonight, the dire government warnings Americans told to prepare for the coronavirus to spread here. San Francisco declares a state of emergency. And with the stock market in freefall, the critical shortage tonight of a key medical supply. Worsening crisis overseas, more panic as the coronavirus emergency keeps growing, with cases in Italy skyrocketing. Is the virus now sweeping across Europe? Tonight, the battle for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, where everything is on the line.
7 candidates face off in their final debate before the South Carolina and Super Tuesday primaries. I'm Gail Kennedy.
And I'm Nora O'Donnell. Let's get started.
Come to turn the page and open up a new chapter in the American story.
Tonight, let us go forward. Let's win this thing. Let's transform America. America decides.
America deserves a president who is as resilient as her people.
2020 is our time to change who makes the rules.
One stage.
This election is just too important, and we cannot afford to get it wrong.
There's no limit to what we can get done in the next 4 years.
Show up in November of 2020 and win.
7 Democratic candidates.
Together, we have built a movement.
We have a fantastically diverse and wonderful party.
We choose hope over fear. We are going to unite together.
And together, we are going to get it done.
We will deliver a democracy worthy of the name.
We are here and we are strong.
Live from the Gilliard Center in Charleston, South Carolina, this is the CBS News Democratic Debate. Here are the 7 candidates for the presidential nomination.
TV is going to have a meltdown. It is a really, really sharp, crisp picture, but man, it is out of control.
Good evening and welcome. The Democratic presidential primary here in South Carolina. The first primary in the South is just 4 days away.
And Super Tuesday is just a week away, and this is the biggest primary day of the year, as voters in 14 states cast ballots, and many of them tell us they have not actually made up their mind. So this debate, when you think about it tonight, may be the last best chance for the candidates to make their case to South Carolina and Super Tuesday voters.
And CBS News is proud to bring you this debate along with our co-sponsors. They are the Democratic National Committee and the Congressional Black Caucus Institute, a nonpartisan organization committed to educating voters and training political leaders.
And we are partnering tonight also with Twitter, so you at home can participate in this debate. How do you do that? Send us your questions for the candidates using the Twitter #DemDebate.
Now here are the rules for the next 2 hours. When you are asked a question, you will have 1 minute and 15 seconds to answer and 45 seconds for follow-ups. So let's begin. Senator Sanders, we haven't had a national unemployment rate this low for this long in 50 years. Here in South Carolina, the unemployment rate is even lower. How will you convince voters that a Democratic socialist can do better than President Trump with the economy?
Well, you're right. The economy is doing really great for people like Mr. Bloomberg and other billionaires. In the last 3 years, billionaires in this country saw an $850 billion increase in their wealth. But you know what? For the ordinary American, things are not so good. Last year, real wage increases for the average worker were less than 1%. Half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. 87 million Americans have no health insurance or are underinsured. 45 million people are struggling with student debt. 500,000 people tonight are sleeping out on the street, including 30,000 veterans. That is not an economy that's working for the American people. That's an economy working for the 1%. We're going to create an economy for all, not just wealthy campaign contributors.
Mayor Bloomberg. Mayor Bloomberg, I'll let you respond to that. Do you think Senator Sanders' economy would be better for America than President Trump?
I think that Donald Trump thinks it would be better if he's president. I do not think so. Vladimir Putin thinks that Donald Trump should be president of the United States, and that's why Russia is helping you get elected, so you'll lose to him.